Good morning. I am super excited about this, as I am all of my journaling Zooms, so I guess that is not a shock, right? All right, per normal, I'm gonna share this into a few groups, so I'll wait for people to hop on. Hey, Jasmine. Guys, if you hop on this, I don't care if you're watching live or the replay, drop me down in the comments if you journal on a regular basis, or if you're just kind of like dabbling in it, or if this is your first time. And there is absolutely no judgment on any of that. I'm just curious, like, is this your first time? Do you get on every time that I go live? Do you do it routinely? Like, what is your experience with journaling? And go ahead and make sure that you have a pen and paper or your journal if you want to get your journal. I do have my actual journal here beside me. A whopping $5 from Amazon. So if you have a fancier journal than I do, that is awesome. I have a super cheap one. So make sure you've got your journal so that way you can do this with us when we get started. Hey, Leanne. Hi, Brett. You are not supposed to be on here. My husband's on here. Guarantee he is not sitting down a journal. He's at work, so he's probably on one of his breaks. Good. Okay, so if this is your day off, that's perfect, because this will definitely kind of just get you going. Okay, so we got a lot of y'all on here. The first thing I want you to do is write down the question, and then you're going to answer this. So write down the question. No, hold on, babe. Write down the question, in what way has Jesus affected the direction of your life? Like, literally, you can do any category for this. So you have full control over what you're answering. But in what way has Jesus affected the direction of your life? When you're done with that, go ahead and drop me a 1 in the comments just so I can know to move on. Hey, Carla. Hey, Bethany. Hey, Brenda. Guys, and I will tell you, this can be like a broad overview, like how has Jesus affected like where you're at, like in life, like your life, stage of life you're in. It could be a specific, like you're thinking of some kind of like specific thing that has happened over the last, couple of days. This isn't open to your interpretation. But I'll tell you, for me, the biggest way that Jesus has impacted my life is having me become a stay-at-home mom. Because I can tell you, when I went to college, I didn't want to get married or have kids, either one. I'm very career focused, so that was not on my radar. Anyone else like that? If you're career focused, tell me. Because I am. If you're a mom and you're career focused, tell me. Because I feel like they're not talked about a lot, and it's almost like a bad thing, but it really isn't. Like, you can be a full-time mom and have a full-time career, and you can literally have it all. And I realize it's easier said than done. Trust me, it took me a long time to get to that point, but you can have it. So anyways, I remember after I got married, which again was like, I'm not going to go on the story, but it was just a crazy circumstance because that wasn't on my radar. And I remember driving to work one day with my husband. Like, we only had one car, so we it was just crazy scheduling. And I remember my husband talking about possibly wanting kids one day, and just medically, I knew I probably wouldn't be able to have kids. That's what the doctors had always told me. I hadn't planned on having kids. I was going to have like some hormone therapy basically before I could carry a baby full term. I'd already had miscarriages before my husband. And actually, since having my daughter, I've also had miscarriages. So God, like, she was a miracle baby, no joke. But having said all that, she, so we weren't pregnant. We were talking about, like, if we decided to have kids. And I told him, I was like, easy. I would have the kid and I would go back to work and drop her off at daycare. Like, I'm not quitting my job just so I can only be a mom. And he grew up in a Christian home. He grew up with two parents that ran their own business. So his mom wasn't a stay-at-home mom, but definitely more hands-on than you can if you work outside the home all the time. Like, they brought their kids to the business with them and that kind of stuff. So he was very anti-daycare, and he was kind of like, okay, well, if we're going to have a kid, I don't really want someone else raising it. And I was like, well, then I guess we're not having a kid. Like, that was my solution. So we found out we were pregnant, very unexpected. And I was like, okay, well, I told you from the get-go, like, this isn't a shock. I'm not giving up my job to raise a family. So we looked at daycare. We signed up for daycare. Had the baby. I had my daughter on a Tuesday. On a Tuesday. I was back to work on Monday. I ran the company I was with. I ran their office. So I took her with me and had full freedom to do that. The employees thought she was, like, the cutest thing ever. I would do interviews and she'd be sitting, like, in her little rocker or sitting on my lap, and everyone loved her. And then she started daycare at 6 weeks old. And I remember bawling my eyes out. And I was like, it's hormones. It's normal. Like, it's, I'm a first-time mom. I cry about everything. Like, we all go through that. 6 months in, I'm still hating my life. Like, hated it. So God really just convicted me of, if you're going to have this baby, you need to raise her. And again, if you use daycare, if you work outside the home, like, that is a personal decision. I am not judging anybody. Like, you pay your bills, you take care of your family. That is, like, in no world is that a bad thing. I'm saying for me personally, like, I knew God was convicting me about being a full-time mom, and I was rejecting it. So for me, that's, like, the biggest, most significant thing that I think he has done in my life is having me become a stay-at-home mom, because I was so anti becoming a stay-at-home mom for so long. Now, we did find a way to do it and still bring in a full-time income. Like, I'm a paid stay-at-home mom, so I still wear lots of hats and I still bring in and pay lots of bills. But I'm still here to raise my daughter full-time, which is something that I really just felt convicted that I needed to do. And then that turned into homeschooling, because the same thing, like, why ship her off 8 hours a day so someone else can school her when I went to college to be a teacher? So why not, like, just do it myself? So that was my biggest thing. So in what ways, or what way has Jesus affected the direction of your life? Like, I can tell you, if you asked me 10 years ago where I would be in 10 years, this was not my answer. But I would not rather be anywhere else. Like, dream job, all as a whole, like, the family aspect, the job aspect, like, dream job, dream career, whatever, like, dream package, I have it for my life. So I wouldn't trade it, but it's not something I saw 10 years ago. Second thing you're going to write down is describe a time where God answered your prayer for direction through a sign. Now, I'm just going to level with you. I used to think signs were crazy. Okay? I thought people who talked about Jesus gave them a sign, and I just thought they were kind of cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I'm gonna flip through here and find my notes real quick. There we go. Okay, so this has happened a handful of times in my life. I don't believe in signs as in, like, you see the sign and then you decide what it means for your life. Like, I've had people come tell me, oh, well, I saw this while I was out walking, and, God just doesn't want me to pursue this anymore. I'm like, that's not how God works. But I do believe that when you're seeking a sign, that sometimes he'll give them to you. Not all the time. Like, there's been plenty of times I've asked God for a sign and none has come. But I can think of a few, and one I'm going to share with you. And I just thought this was really cool. Like, specifically while I was in college, and you're going to hear this and think, like, this is so dumb. But I was in college, and I was really praying for if God wanted me to stay and work during the summer, because that's what I had normally done, was I worked during the summer. The place that I came from, I made a lot of bad decisions, didn't have a very good life. So going to Bible college and then going back to that place for the summer was an obvious bad idea. So I never did it. Well, then my mom moved to another state. So going and staying with her was an option because no one knew me. I didn't have a past that was following me. I could probably find a job, like, wasn't that hard to find a summer job. So I was praying real hard. I was like, they're both good options. Do I stay here and work during the summer, or do I go home and spend the summer with my family? They're both good options, but I didn't really know what to do. And I just always heard, like, you pray and, like, God will give you peace about something. I didn't really know how to pray, but I was praying. I was really trying and, like, talking to God. And one day, on my way home from work, no joke, a car in front of me had the license plate that says the Highlander, because it's a Highlander car. And I think they were relatively new back then. I think that was like a new model. I'm not sure, but I'd never heard of them. The school I went to was called Haas-Anderson College. So they called us Highlanders. My mom had just moved to Kansas. So this license plate said Highlander, Kansas on it. And I was like, instantly, like, I felt peace, as in, like, God was answering what I've been praying for months, what to do for the summer. And I called my mom. I was like, hey, I'm coming home for the summer, just to let you know. Like, I 1,000% believe that that was a sign from God, because I was looking for that sign. Like, I was looking for him to tell me one way or the other, and I was open to, like, whatever direction he led, I was going to follow. So I think when your heart is open and you are ready to hear God's answer, whatever it is, because I really didn't want to go home for the summer, but it was something that, like, I kind of felt him leading me, and I didn't know why. And so when you're open for a sign, they come. And the reason why, obviously I know now, I went home in the summer. I got to witness my grandpa. He got saved. He died that October. We didn't know he was going to. And it was just awesome, because had I not gone home, he would have never gotten saved. So had I not been open and listening to God's sign in the first place, and to God's voice and to God's leading, never would have. Okay, if you guys are done with that, if you've written down, describe a time in your life that God has shown you a sign, drop me a 2 in the comments. I just want to know that I can move on. Actually, I think we're on like 5. I don't even know. So just drop me a 2, a 3, a 5. Just drop me a heart. I don't even care. Drop me something so I know that it's time to go to the next point. Because clearly I have lost track of my numbers already. Okay, so a lot of you guys are done with this one. The last thing I want you to write down, and then we'll have our short little devotional that ties us all together. The last thing I want you to write down is, what is your deepest fear? Your deepest fear. Guys, remember, fear is not of God. So fear is not something that you just live with, so to speak. Like, fear is something that we are actively told over and over in the Bible that we need to release to God. Does that mean they never come? No. So my biggest fear, and I shared this on a live I did a couple of days ago, actually. And this is such a superficial fear, but my biggest fear is that something's going to happen and we are going to go back to being broke and not being able to pay our bills. Now, logically, that's not going to happen. Like, we're making good choices. We're setting ourselves up for security in the long term. We're with a company that provides financial security long term, but that doesn't mean God can't snap his fingers and something happen, you know, like, we're not in control of any of that. So that is my biggest fear. And I think the reason it's a fear is because for so long, before Brett and then a little bit after Brett, I was just so broke. My entire life I was broke. Like, I've never had money in my bank account. And I don't know if any of you can relate to that. Like, I'm just being super real and raw with you. Like, I grew up always having my electricity shut off, always having our water shut off. There's a police car at the door next door. Always being late to rent and, like, ditching landlords. Like, I grew up being evicted from different places, having cars repossessed, not even repossessed. They weren't new. Like, we bought them junk cars, but then my parents would take loans out, so they'd have to put up the title as collateral. I don't know exactly how that works, but I do know they come knocking on our door taking our cars sometimes. So it's just like, I grew up with that fear of every time the phone rang, every time the doorbell rang, somebody was calling and we owed them money. And it's just not a good feeling, right? So I grew up with that fear, and I don't ever want to get back to that point. So as much as that's a fear, you think I'm reading your journal. I promise I'm not. I'm not telepathic. So as much as that's a fear, I know it's not a fear from God, because God did not put that in my head. The devil is putting that in my head. My team and I, we've been working so freaking hard And you guys that are on my team that you're watching this and you're on here with me, you know, because our team is blowing up. Like every time I turn around, we have like 6 new people and 6, 7, 8, 9, 12 new customers. Like it is blowing up. But in the back of my mind, the devil's like, this isn't going to last. Like, you're not worth this. You're not worthy of this. Like, God's not going to bless you. Because I was a pretty crappy person for a long time, guys. Like, those of you that know my story know that. If you don't, I'm not going to real dive into it on here right now. But I made a lot of bad decisions. I hurt a lot of people. I was just not a good person for, I would probably say, from the time I was about 12 is when I started, like, consciously making some decisions that I didn't care that it was hurting other people. Until probably a year after having my daughter. I was kind of like dog eat dog world, whatever. And then it went into like some real illegal stuff at some point before Brett, not after. Like just a lot of crap. So in the back of my mind, the devil does come in and creep in sometimes, and it says like you don't deserve this. Okay. Go kick rocks. I don't deserve anything. That's not the point. Jesus doesn't only give us what we deserve. If so, we'd all be in hell. So you have fun with your life. Like, I'm going to get everything that I can possibly get and help as many people as I can because that is what God wants. So fear is something you need to kick out. Whatever method that is legal and healthy that you need to do, kick it out of your head and go for the opportunities and the doors that God has opened for you because they don't stay open forever. You say no to God long enough, and he's going to go on to the next person and say, okay, you say you want more out of life. You say that you want me to lead you, but every time I open a door for you, you have every excuse in the world why you won't walk your dang butt through it. So to tie this all together, I'll tell you where this came from because some of y'all are looking at me like, yeah, you're kind of crazy. So I was reading on Monday of last week, I think it was Monday or Tuesday morning. And I was reading in Matthew. So I just started going through the New Testament again, and then I'll go through the Old Testament, just reading through the Bible and really studying it again. This is the second time I've done that. I learned a lot the first time through. My hair is like stuck in my collar. I learned a lot the first time through, and I'm just going through again and seeing, okay, what is God going to point out to me this time? So in Matthew, and if I get the dates and names wrong, I'm sorry, guys. Like, I don't know any theology whatsoever. I went to Bible college for 5 years. I can't tell you much that I learned in that place, but I got me a husband. And I learned a lot of character. But I'm saying, like, I didn't do my due diligence when it came to, like, studying the word and all that good stuff. I was there to get out of the life I had, not because I wanted to, like, be this big-time Bible scholar. So just a pre-warning, like, I don't know a lot of Bible. But I do know a lot about having a relationship with God because that is something that I have learned over the years. So I was reading in Matthew, and the Bible was talking about how King Herod, who was like this awful, just like crappy person, he had gotten word that the 3 wise men were about to go find Jesus and that they were going to give him gifts and all this stuff. Well, King Herod had heard the prophecies that this little baby was going to come and basically like he thought he was going to dethrone him or something. And so he decided he was going to find him and kill him. So he basically brought these 3 wise men and was like, hey, I want to go and like give this baby all these gifts too. So when you find him, tell me where he's at. Right, like he was being extra sly about it, trying to talk about how he was going to go like worship him and stuff. No, he's about to go like shove a sword through that little baby. Or he wasn't a baby, I guess he was like a year old or something when the wise men did this, but still a baby in my book, like that's a baby. He's defenseless, that's what he is. So the 3 wise men, they have every intent, because they have no idea that Herod is planning like these bad things for this kid. They have every intent on finding this kid, giving him like the gold and frankincense and myrrh and all the stuff, and worshiping him and like telling him how awesome he is and whatever. And then going and telling Herod like, hey, this is where he's at, so you can go worship him also. They have no idea that King Herod wants to go kill him, right? So in their mind, their plan is go find the baby, follow the little star or like however, the Jesus GPS or whatever. Find the baby and then go tell Herod where the baby is at. They're not thinking nothing of it. Then the Bible says, I don't remember if like an angel came and told them this or if it was just like a feeling. I don't honestly remember this exactly what transpired, but they get there. They find the baby. They give him gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And then something tells them, this Herod dude is not up to no good. Like, we need to not tell him where this baby is. So, you know what? They took a whole different route to go back to their house, because originally they had to go back through King Herod's land to get back to their home. And again, I don't even know where their home is, but that's what the Bible says. They had to go back through Herod's land. So they decided to bypass that, right? So when they followed God's leading, which is what we talked about in our whole journaling session today, they took a detour away from their original plan, and their life or their journey or whatever, the outcome, because the outcome was Jesus didn't get murdered, right? So the outcome was so much better than it would have been had they stuck to their plan. Because they decided to follow God's plan, and it probably was a little out of the way, right? Because they went out of the way to get back home. So it's probably a little more stressful, probably a little bit more steps on their camel or their donkeys or whatever they rode. It took longer. It probably, at least one of them, because there's 3 of them, I'm sure at least one of them was like, bro, are you stupid? Like, why are we going to take all these detours? We could just go straight through. And I'm sure one of them was like, we promised King Herod we would tell him, like, he about to come find us and kill us if we don't go tell him where Jesus is. But they didn't. They listened to God and they went around the detour. In our lives, we have a plan, and so many times we see how we're going to get there. And then God knocks on our door and says, hey, you're a stay-at-home mom. You wanted to make extra money. Here you go. And we're like, oh, no, we're not doing that. That's too stressful. Or we say, hey, we are like wanting our kids to grow up and marry the right person and have a relationship with God. And then God comes along and says, hey, this kids program is awesome. Like, it's a lot of work on you, but your kids are going to turn out real good. And you're, oh no, that's too much work. I'm going to go play basketball with them instead. Like, they'll be fine. So many times we have the end goal. God brings something else that's better, but looks a little funky, right, in the beginning. Y'all, my kid just came up and wanted to show me because she's hearing me. She's like, no, Mom, they rode donkeys. That's a camel. But, so she's eavesdropping. So anyways, my challenge for you today is when God brings something to you that you've been asking for that maybe doesn't look like what you've been asking for, guys, just jump on and do it. Like, God is not the author of confusion. What he's bringing for a reason. Not so you can turn your nose up at it. Because again, you asked for something for so long that God gives you, but in a way you didn't really expect, or maybe you don't even really want. You still want that end goal though. He's going to stop offering it to you. Not only are you not going to get the end goal that you want, but not only are you not going to follow God and like get it even better than you had wanted, you're not going to reach the end goal at all, because God's going to be like, well, I can see in the future, I can see that their way is actually not going to work out. It's going to be detrimental to them, but I'm just going to keep letting them do it because they think they can do it without me. So hands off. Jesus ain't taking the wheel. You took the wheel from him, and now your life is going to be chaos. So anyways, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your Monday, guys. Like, I am very raw and real. Y'all all know that. I don't sugarcoat things. So this was just something, this session, like, just touched my heart and I wanted to share it. So have an awesome rest of your Monday, and I'll talk to you guys later.